Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We continue our conversation with Congressman Donald Payne Jr. from North Jersey, a Democrat in the Congress. You recently had a bill passed. Congratulations. It was, I told you, I saw it in print as the Payne Aviation Security Bill. What does it do?
Well, actually what it does is it makes sure that the Aviation Committee board that has all the stakeholders, you know, our air traffic and the airline industry is primarily private, but now that Homeland Security is involved, you have the government involved to a great extent. What this does is, all it says is that you make sure that the stakeholders are all involved when we make plans or issues around airports and airlines. This goes back to TSA Secretary Pistol, John Pistol, had said that the TSA was going to relax some of the rules in what you could bring on planes, and they were pocket knives and hockey sticks and all. And you know, in that hearing, we asked him, you know, was he serious? And we really pushed back on him in terms of that. And finally, they reversed it. And so
you think if he would have communicated with the airlines, he never would have gotten to that point?
Absolutely. We heard from the stewardesses and the airlines and all. And, you know, I used the example. He said, well, you know, what could you do with a pocket knife? I said, you tell that to the stewardess that gets, you know, poked or stabbed with that pocket knife on an airline and see how she feels about it. You know, his thing, well, it couldn't be a major, it couldn't bring down the plane, but someone could, you know, really get hurt. So
the hijackers of 9/11 used construction razors. Exactly. Who would have thought that before that happened? Exactly. So what surprises me about your bill, and I wanted you to explain it, but I read it, is the fact that they weren't communicating with each other before then. I thought these communication problems were solved after 9/11, and it makes you concerned that maybe there's not other important communication going on.
Well, you know, to that point, the aviation bill was my second piece of legislation passed this year in Homeland Security, and the first one dealt with interoperability communications as well within the Homeland Security, finally telling them that they finally have to communicate across the 22 agencies that make up Homeland Security. There still is an issue of silos in Homeland. And
wasn't that supposed to be solved? Wasn't that the entire 9/11 Commission? Wasn't that the recommendation that everybody, and you just made me think, wasn't Homeland Security put together specifically to create a communication between all the agencies?
We're still working on it.
No, that's why they were, wasn't that why the whole Bureau was put together?
Absolutely, and it's getting better. And they do a good job. For all intents and purposes, other than the Boston issue, you know, we have not had, you know, a terrorist attack that was successful. And, you know, I'm sure they've thwarted hundreds of attacks. And so they're doing a good job. But, you know, one attack is one too many. But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, being the target that the United States of America, the grand target for terrorists is the United States. And, you know, thank God that we've done a pretty good job in keeping
I understand. It's just surprising to me because I remember that was a big deal after 9/11, and the department was put together for that very reason, and I'm surprised they even needed a bill like that.
So both of my bills have dealt with communication.
That's incredible. I want to move on to a couple of other things quickly, and that is Paul Ryan is the new Speaker of the House. And before he was brought in, John Boehner struck this deal, this budget deal, which we were told at the time was going to eliminate the possibility of government shutdowns. The budget was going to be fine until President Obama left office. And now we're talking about a government shutdown in December. Should we, because in the omnibus they want to put on some policy riders to take away regulations against businesses, environmental regulations, some regulations against the banks. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Republicans. Yeah. Is that a serious threat?
I don't see where the Republicans would dare shut the government down again. I think the hue and cry from the American people said enough is enough, and they backed off of it. So I don't believe that, I don't see where they would do it. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Sir, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you making in, and I know you're injured, and,
Yes.
and you still came in today, and I can't tell you how much I respect that. Thank you so much. Congressman Donald Payne, Jr., representing New Jersey's 10th District, which is Essex, Union, and Hudson counties. If you live there, there's your congressman. When we come back, we're going to talk about the future of Atlantic City from a man who knows what's going on from the inside, as Jersey Matters continues.